In this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how to use Python code and to be able to read and write files and even create new files on the fly using the Python language. First, a little word on reading and writing files. The first argument is a string that contains the actual file name. So whenever you're writing the code itself in Python, the very first thing you need to identify and tell Python is the fact that where is the file located, okay? And then of course the name of the file. The second argument is another string that contains a few characters describing the way in which the file will be used. So for example, it could be read, which is R, W for write, or A for append. So it depends on your own instruction to Python what it is that you want Python to do with this file. So in essence, what we're doing here is we are telling Python to go into a certain directory within our computer, locate the file, and then either open it or write some text to the file or add text to an existing file. And this is useful because when you're coding or programming using Python, many times you need to access certain files within your code. So in order to do so, we use the file open command, for example, and we use other methods, for example, in Python to be able to read and write files. But just so that you get an idea of the basic concept of reading and writing files. So in essence, it's just the path of where the file is located, and if it's not located, in other words, when you tell Python to go and access the file and it doesn't find the file there, what Python would do is that it has the ability to create the file. Okay? So just wanted to elaborate upon the concept of reading and writing files. Here's the syntax of reading and writing files using Python. So the first line is file equals open. Pretty straightforward. And then of course you need to define the path. This is where the file is stored or saved on your computer. For example, it could be in a certain folder, it could be in a certain subfolder, or multiple folders. So you need to first know the path and then be able to write the path here. And that's how Python is going to go find it. Remember, whatever instruction you give to Python is going to do only what you provide to it. And then the second aspect of this is the actual file name. So you need to be able to know which file name Python should go and open. The W here that you see is for write. So what Python is going to do is, for example, it's going to first go to this path, find the file name, and if it doesn't find the file name that you specify here, using the W option, Python is going to create the file automatically. Okay, so it's going to create the file and it's going to give the name, whatever name you specify here as your file name. So that's your first line of code. Next, you will tell Python to write within that file. And the syntax is file.write. And of course, the sample text. And this could be anything. So it's just populating your text file or your document or whatever file you're creating. And then our last argument is file.close. And this is useful because it will not use the buffering within your computer and it will close the actual file name. Otherwise, you may not be able to see the sample text that you write in the file. I'll demonstrate that as I move forward. A word of caution here is that you need to be careful when using the write option or the W. And the reason why is because when you use the write option, Python is going to write to that file. So for instance, if you have a file created and has some text that contains multiple lines or paragraphs or whatnot, and you were to rerun this code with some new text instead of your original text that you specified earlier, Python is going to wipe everything out and then provide you the new text. So keep that in mind, and I'll demonstrate that as well. Okay. So here's an example. Let's take a look at this syntax here. It's file, open, and then of course the path. So it could be in this folder and then subsequent folders. It could be multiple level of folders within your computer. And then finally the name of the file. In this case it's hello_again.txt, and then our write option. So when I execute this, for instance, Python is going to go to this location and then try to locate the hello_again.txt file. If it finds it, fine. If it doesn't, it's going to create it. The next line is file.write, and this is some sample text. So for instance, Python is going to open this file called hello.again.txt. If it doesn't find it, it's going to create this file and then write the text within this file, and finally close this file. And this close is not actually closing the document or the file, but actually just making sure that it doesn't stay in the buffer. Okay, so let's take a look. Let me in fact demonstrate the reading and writing files in Python. So here's my Python shell. I'm going to open up my idle here so I can write the actual code. So I'm going to click on File, New File, and this opens up my Python idle so we can write the code. And my first line, of course, is my comment here. This will provide Python instruction to locate the file, and if not located, then create the file. And once again, these comments are very useful because when you're writing large sets of code, this will be very useful when you revisit the code itself, because you're breaking down the code and you're telling yourself or setting up reminders or in fact explaining what is happening within the next lines of code. So here's just a comment that I started off with, and then I'm going to say file equals open the parentheses, and of course my string, and here's the path, users, folder here, documents, data, files, Python, and then of course the name of the file. So in this example I'm just going to use some other file, and notice Python is smart because it displays a list of all the files that are stored in this path that I just typed. So if I know the existing file, I can simply select from any one of these files. If not, I can type my own name here. So let's say I'm going to say something like new sample file.txt, and then I'm also going to make sure that I have the write option here. So in this instance, Python is going to go to this folder. Let me in fact make it larger so you can see the entire code here. Much better. Great. So Python is going to go to this location all the way down to the Python folder here within my subdirectory or the folder level structure, and then take a look and see whether the new sample file.txt exists or not. If not, it's going to create it.